It is finally time for the final match of day number 1 here in the qualifiers for Age of Empire 4's Pro League. 3 versus 3, $20,000 prize pool, and first place gets $7,000. But we're just in the first day of many to come, and we're ready to round it out with round number 3, which will be between Beasty and the STRAELBORAAAAS, as I like to call them, Beasty and the boys, and they'll be up against Hold Me Closer Fire Lancers, who are being manned by some unfamiliar faces. Let's hop into this one, because we are going to begin, as usual, on Dry Arabia to open the series up. And as we can see, looking in the south side, you will have your contenders, right? The unknowns. These guys who I don't have much info on. They don't seem to play too much 1v1. They're more kind of like these 3v3 spammers. I think between all of them, all of them are about the top 10,000 at least. So while they're not the best players in the game, they should offer some contest here, which is what we're looking for. So you're going to have on the cyan, blue or light blue, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know if cyan's the correct way to pronounce it. I say words weird sometimes. I spent a whole year saying, what was it? It was Desperosity, which doesn't exist. Anyway, that's a sidebar. We'll talk about that another time. Let's talk about this. Cheticus playing as the Rus. We're going to have Wasabi playing as the French, and then rounding out that team, it is going to be BrokeKnoke on the Mongols. And the cool part about this, by the way, not only that Dry Arabia offers a lot of kind of early rush potential, it's the fact that it's going to be a mirror matchup. Not perfectly, mind you. I think maybe we've got one. No, we get... Okay, even better. All players are mirrored, not only in their civ choices, but where they're located on the map. And they are split very evenly as well. So this is going to be a hype one, guys. So, of course, DeMusliM will be manning the Rus. I believe he was Rus last time. And then RecoN. Yeah, RecoN was definitely France last time we saw him. And then rounding it out, of course, it will be Beasty on the Mongols. Beasty, this is his specialist civ. This is definitely the one he plays the most. So everyone's just in their comfortable role. I would definitely say DeMuslim's the best Rus player I've seen out of these 3 players. He definitely played it a lot. He hasn't played it as much recently. Kind of let off on the spamming. But it's not a hard civ to get the gist of, right? Once you figure it out, it's easy to remember. Horse archers, horse archers, horse archers, or as we like to call them, pew-pew ponies everywhere. And the cool thing about this layout, by the way, is who's going to be the eco boomer? Is there going to be any flex? Because the cool thing is that usually the centralized player is the one that gets to be greedy, right? And you actually have both of the French players located there. And I think France is surprisingly effective if you let them rush up to castle on this. The Veteran Royal Knights, the difference between them and normal Knights is day and night, right? Too many Knights, which is what happens when you go up against France. And ooh, the Khan getting sniped out. Oh my god, the deer. What? The sheep? Okay, what just happened there? Why is your Khan ever here? Okay, generous donation to the Muslim. Some people like to resub to his channel. Some people like to gift there or send him donations via PayPal. But BrokeKnoke runs in, goes, hey, the Muslim, I'm a big fan. I love your shiny head. And then drops him with an additional 5 sheep and sacrifices the Khan as well. Definitely not an optimal way to open this one up for the Mongol player. But he's going to try and fix it. He's going to the stables now. So it's going to be the Horseman spam coming out. No Magadai play. Interesting. And I think part of the reason behind this is it's not the same as a Lance formation. I'm expecting to see similar out of Beasty. Remember in the previous series we saw these lads, there was a situation where DeMusliM was dropping off carcasses at the base of Beasty to enable him to go towards Magadai. I don't expect to see that play this time around, just because the distance is so much wider. Before, they were a lot closer, so it was more exploitable. I think it's more likely that DeMusliM just scales his economy and maybe pads the French players a little bit. But RecoN, remember, he's playing as France. They can easily get into pro scouts themselves. He shouldn't necessarily need the help of DeMusliM on that front. Yeah, the interesting part that you get out of the mirror matchups is usually, obviously, it comes down to who's more skilled. Maybe the more boring part, and it's why it's funner in 3v3s, is sometimes you just watch players do the exact same thing. But I think in 3v3s, the other cool thing is a lot more variability opens up. We might see players do completely different builds to each other. And we're already kind of seeing that out of Wasabi. Look at this. Racks have definitely been on the climb in popularity in the last 2 weeks, I want to say, as France. But it still feels like a rare sighting. And it's interesting that he built into Racks with absolutely zero pressure on him yet. It's almost like they're planning to just play a very defensive style. And more importantly, it feels like Wasabi is just planning to play into a TC Boom Castle Age rush. And I think the only purpose this School of Cavalry is going to probably have is for pro scouts. I say that. He hasn't dropped a mill yet. But he's still got time to do it. Just needs to pop one over here near the berry bush. It's the only reason that this makes sense. If he's building the Spearman for any other reason than to try and, like, breed up himself, I think it's a suboptimal play here. Meanwhile, on the flank, Cheticus, He wants to play, surely, for that Roost timing as well. Oh, wow. No, he's not. He's doing something different. This is cool. So he's spamming hunting cabins. It looks like the intent for Cheticus is actually to play into a long feudal timing. So I like this because usually the big issue is, although Roosts are quick to castle up, it's still a gap in your lineup if you have another player who's greed as well. But this looks like a situation where Cheticus is going to play very sacrificial, hang around in feudal, and it's going to be Wasabi booming up on the TC front and probably on the tech front. Meanwhile, both of the other players are going to cover that weakness. And look at this, scout spam coming out. Oh my god, he's going in for it as well. I was like, is this just to optimize like gathering at first and in the meantime wait until he's ready for horseman? No, look what he's doing. This is a smart play, guys. Take note of what's happening right now from BrokeKnoke. He doesn't want to reveal the strategy, so he's garrisoning all of these lads in the TC. This is an incredibly underrated element that you can do to prevent your opponents from getting heads up and transitioning ahead of your counter coming out. So the plan here is BrokeKnoke is going to spam as many of these scouts as he possibly can. When they move in to scout this, they're just going to think he's planning horsemen. But once he's got the critical mass, he's going to ride out with the scouts in conjunction probably with another player and then look to burn down the base of an opponent quickly here. And look what's happening over here. Beasty's not countering it. He's gone double archery range. He's not going to be prepped for this with the racks. There's no racks over here either, coming out from RecoN in the north, and there's definitely going to be no racks from DeMusliM. The actual play here, by the way, would be to swing around to the left, head up towards DeMusliM, and burn out the player who's going to try and tech up in the castle. Because while it looks like Cheticus is playing a selfless style where he's going to hang around in the feudal age, DeMusliM is showing no similar intent. He hasn't spammed hunting cabins. He's playing your standardized opening for Castle Age Rush as the Roost, and he's going to look to be a little bit more greedy, and that might be exploitable by the scout spam. So Spear's still coming out, and that's going to be Knights. Yeah, this composition makes sense for what they're doing now. Wasabi, he's going to cover himself for a few spears, and he just needs to ride across the Knights. The whole point is that, well, the spearmen aren't in play, so between the scouts and the Knights, you'll run through the archer army and then quickly burn through everything in Beasty's base. But you have to hide it long enough. BrokeKnoke trying to do exactly that. This is getting revealed, though. They know now. RecoN's moved in with a few Knights. So the goose is cooked. The plan is revealed. You've activated your own trap card, and now you need to use it. Because if you wait too long, it's going to be countered. We'll see if there's going to be a drop. Oh, wow. Look at this out, RecoN. I do not think I've ever seen a player do this in high level. He's walling his TC. He's preventing a tap out. The whole concept being is when he has this extra layer of defense, it takes him longer to get through and burn with the scouts, and it means he can play more loose with the Knights and look to get aggressive, which is what he wants to do. I have not seen a player do this, even in 3v3s at the high level yet. But this is really cool. Man, this is the type of thing you'd see in Command & Conquer, not in Age of Empires. Reason being in Command & Conquer, of course, is to prevent engineers from converting your building. But you don't really see it in AoE. 2, 3, or any of them, really. And here come the scouts. 38. Make that 39. Magadai sniping him out. This is a really cool play by Beasty. Doesn't even go for the archers. This is the counter. You can't reach him. And this means you're all in. You have to commit now. You're being flanked and attacked. They have to move, and that's what they're doing. Cheticus, he doubles down on it as well. No switching to Knights coming out. It's just scouts, but he will have the flexibility if he wants. It looks like he's not engaging with it, though. And in fact, Cheticus, he didn't even age up once. They're both sticking in Dark Age. This is a new age of Dark Age rushing, and look who they're going for. It's straight on the RecoN. He read this perfectly. He assumed that because he's the central player and he'll look like the greed, that's where they're going to go. And it won't take them long. The Palisade's delayed, but you need to be in place right now. And look at the greed. Because DeMusliM goes up to Castle, that was what they were waiting for. The moment he hit Castle, they rushed towards the base because they knew he'd be weak. And the Magadai aren't helping quick enough. TC's exposed, and they're in. The Zug. It's going to take a while to get through the TC, though. 7k health on this. Villagers moving in. And they can repair, remember. They can start the garrison as well. Reinforcements are starting to arrive. But it's coming in from Wasabi. He arrives with a few spears and the Knights of his own. It's going to force the Magadai away. And now, with it split off, can they burn through this quick enough? They need to prioritize the villagers, but they're failing to do so. RecoN is offsetting all the damage that they're committing onto this TC. And this all-in move is looking like it's going to fail. And when it does, DeMusliM is going to be the strongest because he's got horse archers building up. RecoN needs more wood. Doesn't matter anymore. There's not enough scouts anymore. They can't get through it. The plan has failed. The oven was left on too long, and that beautiful cake you were baking has sunk and burned. and they will just have to run away with their tails between their legs. Not that there's anything to run away with. The scout army has been slain. A nice effort, an interesting strategy, but prioritizing the wrong player. They didn't go after DeMusliM. Part of the reason being is they're worried about his horse archer being built on the home front. And I think the other detail is they don't think that they can get through 3 of these landmarks in that time frame. They had to go for the player who had 2. And although there could have been some animation cancelling, I don't think that's actually the most important detail here. I think the detail that matters is that they never sniped out the villagers repairing. Right? Animation cancelling 100% would have helped. But they needed something to snipe out the villagers. The problem is you can't rely on scouts to do that. Scouts do no damage. They're pathetic. It's 4 damage, most cases. And even when you have 50 of them, keep in mind your limitation is how many you can get around a single villager, in conjunction with the slowed attack speed. And if you're already surrounded a villager entirely, animation cancelling becomes more finicky. So it's very hard for them to ever achieve this. The only way it works is if you try and raise the economy first. I don't think you're ever getting through that 7,000 health when there's a palisade wall down here. But they didn't know that. By the time they discovered that info, the irony of this, by the way, the fact that they had not scouted the palisades being built means that the scout army fails. Imagine having 40+ scouts at your disposal and no one eyeballing that RecoN had walled himself in. That is the critical detail. That is the final nail in the coffin, and that is why they are now miles behind Beasty and the boys. Cheticus with the latest feudal age timing I've seen in a long time. 11 minutes finally cracks in, and a straight into racks. And he dropped a Kremlin as well. Good God. This gives you a heart attack when you see it. This hurts. This hurts so much. So many elements this wrong. It just hasn't worked out. And I agree, like, there should have been a situation where they went up to feudal. You do get that additional damage, right, on the raising. I think that affects most units. They scale up more damage. Even that, though, it didn't feel like the damage alone was their issue. They just didn't have enough room to get everyone in. I think they were stuck on those choke points, and maybe the extra damage helps a bit, but when you consider how much health was left on this TC, I don't think it's ever going down to the scout spam at that point. A gamble that just doesn't pay off, and I feel like we're approaching the end of the game, really. I don't see how you hold off against this. You've garrisoned fully into your TC. There's not enough room for all your villages, so BrokeKnoke is about to be broke. Meanwhile, in the center, no scalability out of Wasabi. Racks being dropped in a Kremlin by Cheticus means he's not going castle anytime soon. This is just cruise mode right now, if they want, but why cruise when you can just end one of these players right now? The only play that BrokeKnoke has still is scouts. Anything else just doesn't seem to work. He can't afford the horseman. And, well, this game is quickly starting to reach a closing point. They won't tap out yet, but I don't see how you're going to do this as 2 versus 3, especially when you're stuck behind technologically and economically. But you know what? Bigger miracles have been pulled off. You just need to find that point of recovery. Like, who's going to be the scaler? Like, who's going to be able to drag you through that late game? I think it has to be Wasabi, but I don't know how you actually compete with RecoN. Like, if we look at the count right now, Wasabi, his economy's 34. Meanwhile, RecoN, 50. 50 on RecoN, and that was him being under pressure, remember. And that shows you how little villages they sniped. It also shows you how much they were bleeding themselves dry. Because I guarantee you Wasabi wasn't able to afford villages all the time. He was too busy pushing out constant scouts and spearmen, and that cost him dearly. And now it might just cost him the game. When DeMusliM shows up in your base with around 30 horse archers, he's ready to end the game. Moving in. Magadai and horse archers, guys. It's the name of the game on Dry Arabia, and it seems to just break so many of these games, and it is breaking Wasabi right now. We said he was behind on the eco front. Now he's being doubled up by RecoN. And when you see this many horses in your base, you have to know you're next, Cheticus. They've done it to 2 players, and soon they're going to do it to the 3rd one. And at that point, you're just hemorrhaging slowly but surely towards that loss. Okay, that is a brave spearman. I mean, at that point, don't you just drop your spear on the ground and put your hands up and hope that they understand surrendering? But Wasabi's like, nope, nope. Fabric, everything is budgeted in my kingdom. No one has white fabrics to wave as flags. No one wears underwear. They can't pull them off and wave them around and say, please, don't attack me. And I'm surprised they haven't tapped it. I mean, the only person who hasn't just been completely obliterated at this stage is Cheticus, but it's kind of already been done by himself, right? No pro scouts, no Golden Gate, no stables, building into a marketplace, trying to fix some issues now. But there's too many holes in the ship. It's slowly sinking. It's like a match of Sea of Thieves. You've been cannonballed to the oblivion, and then everyone in your team is disconnected, so you know you're eventually going to the bottom of the ocean. It's just a matter of how long you want to wait. And I don't know, maybe this is strategic. Maybe they're just spending time trying to, like, strategize for the next rounds. Maybe they're trying to get that extra discussion time before they, like, tap out. But I think there's got to be a point where you leave this, because if you continue like this, the only thing it's going to achieve now is demoralization. If you came back, it would be the game of 2022 in the first month, 100%. But the question is how? Like, what is the strategy, right? Like, what is the steps that gets you back in this game? And how do you ever not be one step behind your opponent? Because that's the power, that's the oppressive power of this opening from Beastie Bros. This combined arms is all about cavalry, right? These 3 civs come together and they just run across the map. It's dynamic, right? And it means that what you're seeing is, instead of ever finishing a player, yes, they can't outright kill you, but what they're doing is they're killing your economy each time. They run one place, then they run the other. They play, basically, although there's only one Mongol player on the team, they're all playing like a Mongol player, right? They run through your economy, they loot and burn everything, and then they come back another year. And here they are again, the actual Mongols this time. And wow, you tried to go trade. I guess these guys are in for it. Like, they're just enjoying themselves, right? They're having a good time. Maybe their fans are like DeMusliM and Beastyqt and all those. They're like, we had a strategy in mind. We tried it. We're going to see the full game out now. And I can kind of respect that, but I guarantee you any high-level players would have tapped it by now. It's not worth the mental damage that it does to you, right? Like, trying to keep your mental fortitude in games is a very critical element. The psychology of esports is such a deep and unexplored still subject. But if you talk to captains of the highest level teams, right, in different esports, they talk about this point of no return. And that it's not worth, like, the small percentile chance of making a comeback. Because the offset, the risk, especially this early in a series, right, in the first game, is that you're just on tilt for the rest of the series. And now with Knights finally arriving, I think this time they might do a little bit more damage than to your economy. And with no signs of letting up, with no signs of recovery, I think we've reached that point. It was a nice idea, and I hope they have more twists and turns in this series, maybe another interesting strategy. But I think they need to give themselves some recovery room, because the biggest issue they have here is this was an all-in. And once it was countered, Beastie Boys knew they had control of the game, and they knew it'd be near impossible to throw. And that's exactly what's happened here. GGs will come out, they will finally tap out, and game 1 on Dry Arabia will go the way of the pros. Yeah, just really well played coming out of the Beastie Bros. Really amazing play out of RecoN, actually. So this, I think the big lesson you take away from this game specifically is the importance of vision. The importance of RecoN. I mean, it's in his name, so it makes sense it's in his game. It genuinely broke this game. Because they eyeballed that up early, because they actually caught BrokeKnoke when his TC was overflowing, he couldn't stack more of these scouts in, they knew what was coming. And they prepped for it appropriately. They identified that going after DeMusliM is a potential risk, but you're seeing scouts on the right side of the map. It's a long distance to cover. So that's not the high priority target. Going after the Mongols could be a gamble because likely Beastie's going to have an army at that stage in the game. So their move is to say RecoN is the central player, so he should be the eco boomer to start with. And more importantly, his knights are already showing up in our base. So they double down. The moment that they see DeMusliM crack castle, it's the perfect time to try and do this, right? And I don't blame them for going then. If you wait any longer, DeMusliM comes into the game horse archers. The problem, the detail that changed everything was RecoN with the Palisades. The Palisades, although they may not have lasted a century, it's the fact that not only do they waste a little bit of time allowing you to get reinforcements across to get rid of the scout army, it's the fact that they also force you into a choke point. And it stops you flowing around that TC quickly. It means that you're not able to actually block out, snipe out villagers while also sieging down with maximum damage. Instead, you're only sieging from half the side. And very quickly, that scout line just disintegrates. I definitely think there's some optimizations. One thing that I believe chat actually highlighted as a fair point is they should have actually feudaled up. Should have found the money. I think they could have. They could have slowed down a trickle of troops out temporarily to get the tech up and then get the additional damage, the +3 on each of those units. I mean, it's 40+ scouts. It's definitely worth it. But in all seriousness, it was a cheese play, right? It was a gamble play. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. I'm surprised they hung around that long after it didn't work. I don't think there's anything left in this game. But maybe they're just having a good time. You know, maybe their mental fortitude is good. Their PMA. Because my only concern, and you probably heard it towards the end of that game, is the longer you hang around this one, the deeper into despair you sink, right? It doesn't even matter if you're the most positive person in the world, right? You can be like, win together, lose together. We're teammates. You know, have a nice little circle and dance around and make giggly noises, and the world is awesome. It doesn't matter. Even the most positive people can be grinded into dust in these situations, right? There's only so long you can stare death in the face before it really gets to you. And that's what they were doing here. And my concern is that that might wiggle away at them a little bit. Even if it doesn't show in the lack of positivity or they don't blame each other, right? They still hold strong in that kind of brotherly fashion. I think what these type of games can do to you when you hang around is they can set in doubt. Because what they just proved is that the play wasn't good enough to like cheese these guys out, but then they also proved that the notion of coming back in this didn't exist, right? And then that means that when you go into the next game, if they have another kind of curveball play, if they don't give themselves a backup plan, they might tap out when they could actually have a backup plan, right? They might all in again, and there might actually be a recovery point, because it might be on a map such as Hill and Dale where they can hold choke points, and they will probably just convince themselves out of potentially drawing the series up. But you know what? We're talking mind games. Honestly, I should just stick in a pipe, get a psychiatrist background, and we spend an hour talking about this because it really is that expansive a subject. What we need to focus on is the fact that Beastie Bros are one game away from being one of the first teams to finish up day one of this qualifier. And we are going to get into game two after a short break. But a few minutes, be back, and then we'll be underway with game number two. And well, map choices, it can vary. There's a few different options. We've already seen the power of playing on Hill and Dale come out, but there's also Highview and Danube River. We're going to find out which of those three maps will come up after a short break. I'm excited to see this one because we almost got a mirror matchup. Here it is, folks. That's right. You notice the difference. There's a slight switch up here. Let me just update those scores because Beastie and Bros are now one game up. But yes, for those who are tuning in, BC Bros took game one with a very active and mobile force of cavalry in game one on Dry Arabia. Their opponents actually attempted the exact same. It was a mirror matchup, which meant that France, Mongols, and Rus were all eliminated from the possible picks. So you only had 5 to choose from. And surprise, surprise, a lot of it did actually match up. It's fitting as well because HRE and China being the ones that match up, they are the most powerful civs in Hill and Dale. I really do believe that, especially in 3v3s. I think there's enough open ground, there's enough choke point holds, that you open up a lot of flexibility to, well, scale into Imperial Age, or even think about later than that going into a Wonder Victory. And if you want to go Wonder Victory, I think HRE is critical, and that's why I think it's going to be the most picked civ here on Hill and Dale in the entire tournament. So, rounding out though, we have got a slight difference. Cheticus did go for England, and RecoN went for Abbasids. So this to me looks like a kind of split between an all-in strat and a stock from Fire Lancers. So the interesting thing about what they've done here is they've picked England for that kind of high tempo early, but they're going to need to back it up. And I think China can do that to an extent, but you're looking to rush Castle with China, which means what is HRE's role here? Well, there are a few choices. One thing I actually love that I've been seeing a few HRE players do is the Archer Spam. So HRE is able to stabilize up to 4 archery ranges a lot quicker than practically any other civ in the game in the middle of Feudal, courtesy of their more efficient economy. Remember, the Holy Inspiration allows them to buff up to 10 workers with 1 prelate, 40% better on the gathering rates, and also give them 40% increase in capacity. Then improve that even further with the Archon Chapel at the beginning of Feudal. It makes sense why you can very quickly sustain 4+ archer ranges, and is actually quite effective, the HRE, considering that they can buff the movement speed of their archers to be up to like 1.36. Now, the reason I like the idea of that composition is because what you do is you bring in Lombos and you bring in archers from HRE, and then meanwhile in the center, China would just support the front line, right? They'd rush Castle as quickly as possible, and they get their hands on Palace Guard. You have a very dynamic army with good range and good mobility for infantry. And I think they have to play for that timing, because I think if you go for a later timing, I don't like England up against Abbasids. I think Abbasids have a better kind of peak timing in Castle Age. In fact, Abbasids are looking to survive until Castle. The whole power spike for the Abbasids that can give you an edge in this series is when you're talking about two civs that have very static armies, i.e. the English and the Abbasids have the edge in that they're able to reinforce their front line with siege weapons on the go, something that England can't possibly match. Not only do England have to pay 300 wood per workshop, but they have to station them somewhere, usually in their base, and then the things that come out of them get produced very slow, up to 45 seconds for some, and then they have to roll across the map at the speed of an old lady with a Zimmer frame. Takes a while. Meanwhile, RecoN, although he won't be able to get the tech upgrades that you get in a workshop, what he can do very quickly if he blitz in the castle is he can be halfway across the map and he can start constructing these Mangonels, these Springles, and he does it 3 times as quickly as a siege workshop. So the variable to consider here is that there is another sieger in this game on both sides, right? It's going to be China and China. But I think China's going to kind of have their hands full, because I do think that, for me, the play for Wasabi, especially judging by their name, is he's probably thinking Fire Lancers more than artillery. And that could allow a much earlier win timing for Beasty and Bros, because I think this is going to drag out into mid to late castle. Because although I gave that strategy that I think is optimal for Team 2 here, I think it's very easy for a lot of players to overlook this. The only reason I think the Fire Lancers might engage with it, and if they want to engage with an early rush, they should do the one I mentioned, is because of Game 1, right? Where they attempted that scout rush with about 80 scouts, which didn't work out in the end, spoiler alert. Because they've done that, I think that might be the play. And oh my god, Beasty, yes! This is so cool. I've been waiting for a player to do this. I've been talking about this for ages. He didn't do it the way that I usually discuss it, which is you drop an Imperial Academy and save the Barbican layer. Instead, he moves across to the other side of the map and drops the Barbican and Sun. Now, I wouldn't say this is optimal location, but he's paranoid, right? If he gets any closer, they maybe see him. And if they see him, they rush forward with his villagers and stab him out. This, instead, is going to be protected. It will go up, and it will give him early vision and maybe like a stable point to actually siege from later on in the game. Cool thing is, what's going to be the follow-up? Because this right now, like, I talk about tactics and strategies a lot, right? This is a tactic. This is a cool thing to do. When you rush scouts towards someone's base, it's a tactic, right? If you try and burn someone down their base, it's a tactic. What's your end goal? What's the strategy? What's it enabling? It's very easy to say, winning the game, idiot. No, that's not explaining your strategy to me. That's like saying, make a good game. What makes a good game? What are the elements to this, right? This is a staging point, but what are you doing now? Are you building full military buildings? Are you outpost crawling? It looks like it's outpost crawls, but he could also set up military infrastructure here, right? And siege in. There is also an option now that you've got a save point where an Abbasid player can move up and drop a Rax and build into spears for siege weapons later. This opens up so many doors of possibilities. Here we go, with this outpost. He's playing Mongol. Like, I don't get this. Beasty! I know he loves Mongols, but he's found a way to turn China into Mongolia. It's kind of fitting when you understand the history of those two civilizations, but still so bafflingly amazing to watch here, as he's going to start crawling an outpost against HRE, a civ that has no counter, and this attempt to shiv him is not going to be good. Instead, he's trying to get his own outpost up. Arrow slits are being researched. It's going to be delayed. Oh, Beasty, what are you doing? Build it! Build it, you insane man! You had this! Oh my god, he's too late. Beasty, his paranoia just cost him that. He could have got the outpost down first. Remember, China builds faster, and also you get diminishing returns when you add more workers in this, right? So he invested 13 workers compared to the 3. The 3 have double the build rate, so it's only double your speed, but you're already halfway through it. He actually would have got the outpost up first if he hard committed. And now Spearman coming out from Wasabi. It's turned to civil war. China on China. Although this poor Chinaman in the green's not going to last long, not against the guns. This outpost is now manned. And look at this. This hurts BrokeKnoke. At this stage, your economy's so small, right? You're sitting at 23 workers, 4 of them sitting idle in the tower doing nothing. And also when they run away, they're at risk now to being sniped. And all the while where they're running interception, they're playing a different style of Abbasid. Remember what I said about Abbasids and free freeze? They're typically the bottom, right? They're the one that brunts it. They swallow the pill that no one else wants to. They cover your other 2 players to be greedy and get feudal into castle first. Not this game. RecoN's like, screw you guys. Beasty, you like Mongols so much? Innovate. Like, I know you're dressed as China, but show us that you're a Mongol spammer underneath it. So he sends him in to be aggressive. In the meantime, RecoN is going to be oh so greedy. 3 TCs already at this stage. And remember, the Abbasids are fantastic for this. Due to the efficiency of fresh foodstuffs, reducing the cost of your villagers by 50%, you can afford a 3rd TC, a 2nd and 3rd TC, quicker than most other civs can. And even China will not compete with this. Especially when China had to go into the racks, right, to cover their greedy HRE player. This is what makes this so great. And now even more outposts. And this is going to cripple you. Your wood line is going to be inaccessible in a second here. Because this outpost will go down before you get units out. And then he can just move a scout to the side and then see and snipe into your villager line. There's so much pressure on BrokeKnoke right now. And it could be so easy for him to get more than just a broken nose here, right? He could be shut out of his game before it even begins. Meanwhile, let's look at the other comparative. DeMusliM, happy as lamb. Happier than lambs he's slaughtering, at least. Luckily, he stopped killing those. That's mean. It even tells you you're a monster when you try to kill him. But no, he's already up. He's built the Regnitz Cathedral. He's moving out with double prelate. And this is also the other layer, right? We said that this was a tactic. This is another part of the strategy. This tactic led to RecoN being able to scale up, right? That's part of the tactic. Which then lead into the ripple effect of DeMusliM securing all the relics he needs and more. which also has a knock-on effect of denying BrokeKnoke, because BrokeKnoke, he's being pressured, so he's stuck in feudal. He also is going to be stripped of most of these relics by the time he gets up to castle. This is all adding up, right? It's that whole and factor. Like I said, when you actually take all these elements and you add them together, they're no longer tactics, they're actually a strategy. The whole concept is to get DeMusliM up to Imperial when BrokeKnoke is just reaching castle. And that will give you such a lead that he'll ride in with these knights, and also with such a superior economy, with RecoN now going up to 4 TCs, he will have a siege line that will be able to A, breach, and B, end the game for the Beastie Boys. Sorry, Beastie Bros. I keep calling them 2 different things. So here you go, even upgrades the outpost. And these villagers still haven't been working this whole time. Meanwhile on the side, oh, the scouts got sniped out. Nice move there by Cheticus, that was really important. He's going to move with the villagers again. He needs to drop a forward stable here. I think a stable would be a really good play coming out of Beastie. He's got wood. Like, look at his wood numbers. He has 1.3k wood. This is all he's doing. At least drop a stable and get some units out. Good lord. And so many racks now being dropped. BrokeKnoke. Game 1, they chose to hang around behind their opponents technologically. Game 2, they don't even have a choice in the matter. And also this small detail, Beastie, look what he done. He actually got textiles, so his units are incredibly tanky. It takes a long time to snipe through these with a small handful of longbowmen. Speaking of longbowmen, trying to move in. Ooh, we'll get one there. Beastie, come on. More villages, he's not even scaling. Like, with this wood, just buy, like, you can afford a TC, come on. Please buy a TC. Look at his stone and wood. This stone is great for hoarding if you want to drop a keep, but you have to reach castle first. He's nowhere near it. I could just hear someone in the back of my head screaming the efficiency. Ree! Oh, good lord. It's buying so much time, though. Regnit's Cathedral's already max capped, and now the knights are coming out. DeMusliM, a long way to go to reach the base, but when he does, he is going to ride straight through him. And these outposts, just more and more of them going down. No solution just yet. They finally got the walls up, but remember, these are just palisades, right? BrokeKnoke, he should have been up at castle. He should have been able to stonewall. His opponent, like his teammate couldn't come across to actually stonewall this either, so he's kind of stuck. And also, this investment right here by Cheticus, he's going to choose to hang around in feudal a long time now, as you usually do as England. But with knights already riding across the field, they're going to be able to get through these battering rams in the blink of an eye. Oy, oy, oy. This line of outposts is just so frustrating. It's so oppressive. There's not much that you can play towards this BrokeKnoke. Your gold line is still secure if you want to get on it, but right now that's not his concern. He just needs to get troops out. He's now the feudal boomer. The problem is they're all feudal booming, right? Nobody's scaling up. They're so stuck addressing what's happening now. This is another example of a tactic instead of a strategy. The tactic is to survive, which is a great strategy to begin with, or tactic to begin with, rather. But what's your end goal here? And if you say to me survive, I've got a problem, right? There's a big issue of players playing to survive instead of playing to win. And that's the difference right now. Beastie Bros, 1 game up, they're 100% in to win. And you can feel it with the way that they're strategizing here. Meanwhile, Ram moving in. The Scout is going to get sniped out. And still no forward base being established by Beastie, at least in terms of production builders just yet. Knights will trade reasonably well against these early man-at-arms. Their damage is fairly pitiful. But you can say that they're outnumbered right now. That's the problem. They need to get more troops out. They actually need RecoN to be invested, right? He's been so busy booming up. He's the one who's still missing from all this. He's halfway towards castle, and that's when he should start to engage. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts to move out very soon and look to drop a forward base. And yep, there it is. 4 racks now being built in the center of the map. This is going to enable him to do that siege crawl we always talk about, right? Where you're able to, in the field, build up all these siege weapons instantly and then just eviscerate your opponent before they're ready to match you, even if they hit castle as well. So Knights wrap around. Man-at-arms are so slow, they're getting kited out a bit. Barbican Sun is down to half HP, and these villagers don't care about it anymore. It served its purpose. It's irrelevant at this stage. All he wants is more outposts. I can't believe this is working. Oh my goodness. And more Knights coming. They're almost at the mass required to get through these early man-at-arms. In fact, these ones are going to trade out most of the man-at-arms. The only problem right now is the battering ram's still going. I just don't think the battering ram's going to be quick enough at this rate. In fact, if anything, you should move around and throw a few mollies at it, but he's going to focus fire onto the man-at-arms. Most of them already gone, and this is the problem, right? In small quantities, yes, your clump works, but once it's even a third of the amount of man-at-arms here, you're just going to get sniped down. And Beastie, with the new villages on the front, he can easily just rebuild this landmark at any stage. The army's already gone. On the side, Wasabi, is he even ready? Nope. TC expansion now coming out of Cheticus. This is so greedy. You can't afford to do this right now. This is recovery TC. The problem is you're not going to have time to recover at this rate. RecoN, infrastructure's going down. He's expanding it even further. He's up into castle now. He can get into the man-at-arms. And those man-at-arms will build the siege weapons necessary to break straight through these walls. Meanwhile, Broke not even moving right now on the back front, looking bad. Barbican's been rebuilt up, healthy enough, garrisoned in. And BrokeKnoke just looks completely lost right now. And I don't blame him. What do you do as HRE in this situation? Your back's against the wall and your front's about to be impaled by spikes. Or in this case, lances. Long lances coming out from these knights. Who are moving in now, looking for the villager line. They'll try to cycle through. It's a little bit too late though. DeMusliM won't be able to find the biggest bang for buck. Doesn't really matter though. It's the fact that you're just slowing down his economy. He's still not fielding an army. He's still not scaling up. 2 players in this game have reached castle, and both of them belong to the same team. It is, of course, the Beastie Bros. And now the walls with the towers. Remember China, they're great at this. They can build much quicker than other civs. Do need to be careful, though. They don't have the knights here, so you might lose a lot of the villagers. That's why these outposts are really good. But he does need to garrison them. And so far, not doing so. Big mistake there. We'll finally switch them around. And all the while this is happening, it's all a distraction, right? The MVP, the person who's going to gap close and win this game in the end is RecoN. RecoN with his 4 district that is waiting to just churn out troops. Look at it. He's got surplus. And he can spend it at any point. A little bit paranoid. I don't like this Stonewall play. I don't think you need to be worried right now. They're all invested in their own base. But it looks like for the moment, with all the sacred sites being capped, the main goal that they're looking towards is that they're going to just try and hold off, build up an army, and then when they reveal the hand of which RecoN is holding, it's strong enough to break 3 versus 1. Of course, that victory condition was triggered. I believe it was around, we'll say, 15's fair. Sacred victory. I think it's triggered just after the 15-minute mark, but it's close enough. And now he's walling him off! Okay, yep, this is actually really smart. They need to get BrokeKnoke out of this right now. They need to save him. He has no scalability. Instead, they cannot reinforce him. He doesn't have the economy to get reinforcements out anymore. And with so many knights here, now 20 for DeMusliM, it will not take them long to burn through the TC and then the Ark and Chapel. Meanwhile, Cheticus, he's caught weak now. Look what he's doing. His king's passing up. He has to out of necessity. But it means that they're sacrificing the HRE player to the wolves. And remember what I said, HRE is the most powerful civ on this map. It's the most crucial ingredient. It gives you a lot of ability to scale up because it's easily defended. Late game, if you have to go for a wonder victory, they're the ones to do it. They're not going to be there anymore. You're soon going to be 2 versus 3, and you are going to be very uncomfortable about it as well because China is not ready to brunt this force of 3 players pushing in. Also, RecoN is ready to build the world. Look at this, 4,000 surplus food right now. And here it is, up into the Imperial Age, and look how many Raxes he has. Oh my lord. Say a prayer for the Fire Lancers because I think they're about to go to heaven. Or is it hell? All I know is everything's going to be on fire, so it's going to feel more like hell. They're trying to set fire to things themselves, but it's not working out too well. They have nothing to deal with these villagers. And although they built all these battering rams, they're not going to actually achieve even getting through. TC's already down. They've left the Ark and Chapel alive. They want to play with him a little bit more. It's like a cat playing with a half-dead mouse at this stage. It's BrokeKnoke. He's barely able to limp away. He's dragging his corpse across the ground, begging them to stop, but they won't let up. Well, the lul's coming out. Oh my god, no! What's happening? DeMusliM, he's in welcoming Germany. He welcomes people of all cultures and backgrounds and has discovered that the Chinese people are not happy with the way of the green. And all of a sudden, DeMusliM has a forward base. And all of a sudden, Wasabi, what is his eco count? He's down to 42. DeMusliM just boosted himself up to 81. Waving around, he's like, you want to play? They're trying to shiv him. Another Wallalow. This one will not go off. But it doesn't matter, the damage is already done. Wasabi underway trying to scale up into the castle age, but he's got a weakened economy now. Oh my god, the anarchy of this one. They just were not ready at all. And there it is, tech up finally complete. Beastie still in feudal, but he's happy as lamb. What has he got to tech up for? Walls, that's all he needed access to, and he gets them in feudal. That's good enough. The Rams, in the meantime, making progress towards the north, but they might just finally stick the final nail in this coffin. BrokeKnoke One landmark left. They've ignored it all this time, just toying with their opponents. And all the while, that Sacred Site victory is still ticking. All the while, RecoN is building the main army. Saladin is about to lay siege to Jerusalem, and it ain't gonna end pretty. And here come the Knights. Yeah, this is the version of the Crusades where both sides joined forces. They stopped butchering each other because for some reason China turned up in the Middle East. It's not exactly what we call historically accurate, but I'm going to allow it for the sake of this match. And this match is done. Wasabi, he GG's out. And that should be the end of the game. In Imperial Palace, Beasty's actually finally taking up in these enemy's base. He's like, I'll be the China of the South as well. GG's going to get called. It may not have been the most competitive series, but it was at least very entertaining. Beasty and the boys will finish off day one in rapido fashion here, taking this best of 3 2-0. Oh, what a 2-0 it was. I mean, they may not necessarily win any tournaments anytime soon, but I think it's fair to say we were amply entertained by Cheticus, Wasabi, and BrokeKnoke. Game 1, the Scout Rush, it was an adorable idea. Adorable sounds condescending, but in this situation, I mean it from the deepest part of my heart in the nicest way. And then Game 2, I mean, it's more the cuteness of what their opponents were doing. The plays by the Beasty, DeMusliM, and RecoN. And the switch up as well. The fact that they actually didn't use the opposite player like most players have been doing right now. Right? They didn't use it in that composition where it's a sacrificial lamb. Instead, allowing him to be the greedy boy. And actually utilizing China the same way you use Mongols. And it's cool because it's feasible. The reason it's feasible, by the way, is because although your outposts don't cost less compared to the Mongols, and you don't get resources for raising structures, your Imperial Official makes it so that you get additional wood drop-off. That actually makes up for almost the whole difference and allows you to be able to afford just as many outposts at that early stage as a Mongol player. And the fact that your Barbican of the Sun is your building into feudal, it enables all of this. That's a very gambly play, and that's why he done it so safely. If he reveals it right next to the HRE player's base, he walks in with knives and stabs you down before you complete it. Instead, he's able to optimize the amount of villages he brings them out in small clusters as he's able to sustain his economy back in base still, and he just keeps ramping up that pressure, understanding that it doesn't matter if he finishes the game in feudal or not. It's what's happening on the wings again, right? It's another idea of like using the central player in a deceitful way. Remember that last time we saw in the Hill and Dale, they sacrificed, or they were willing to sacrifice the Muslim, at least initially, where they made him greed up in the castle so his opponents would be baited onto him, and then they pincer maneuvered from both sides. Similarly, in this one, it's a role reversal of like, instead of it being me teching up, it's me hanging around when everyone expects me to go up as China in this situation. And then I'm also able to support the greed of HRE and Abbasid in this 3v3. Really well played by him. Fantastically done. And I just love to see it. These guys, I'm excited to see what's going to happen when they get to the real competition. Because right now, of course, they are up against maybe, you know, the lower ranked ones. We said 1 or 2 of these players were like 5,000, 8,000 or whatever. I'm excited to see what happens when we get into like the Kapochs, the Heras, those type of people. Are they going to switch up, or are they going to just continue with these weird, wacky strategies that you've never seen in 1v1s? And also, you may notice that weird and wacky noise. If you guys enjoyed what you saw here, that's because a bunch of people just subscribed while I was live. Thank you to you guys, by the way, for subscribing. I always appreciate the support. And if you want to be involved on the live stream side of things, go across to Twitch and follow me there. If you want to watch more of the YouTube content, as I'm sure this is going to appear there, make sure that you stay on the channel, click through the videos. It helps grow us quicker. YouTube loves us more, and I love you more for it. So thank you very much.